hated it. You remember the time we flew all the way back? I don't know where it was from. Was it
Oh,
Detroit?
Oh, yeah.
And
You
we
talking about
landed.
At 63, James Worthy still looks every bit the champion. Broad shoulders, steady eyes, that familiar composure that once anchored the Showtime Lakers. Today, he sits as an analyst for the team that defined his life. And when he speaks, the room still quiets. The man they call Big Game James remains a living link to one of basketball's greatest dynasties. His resume speaks louder than any highlight reel. 7 All-Star appearances, 3 NBA championships, 1 Finals MVP. A Hall of Fame career built not on flash but on precision timing and an unshakable sense of calm under pressure. Worthy didn't need to dominate the entire season. He just needed the moment that mattered most. When the lights burned brightest, that's when he showed up. To Lakers fans, he was the silent finisher of Showtime. While Magic Johnson orchestrated and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar towered with the skyhook, Worthy was the closer, the man sprinting down the left lane, ready to explode on command. His speed, footwork, and composure made him the perfect complement to the Lakers' fast-break symphony. The name Big Game wasn't exaggeration. It was prophecy. Game 7 of the 1988 Finals remains his masterpiece. 36 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists. The Lakers repeated as champions, and Worthy earned the Finals MVP. It wasn't just the numbers, it was how he made them. Every play looked effortless, every shot arrived exactly when the team needed it. That performance cemented his place among the legends of clutch basketball. Even now, when younger players talk about rising to the moment, they're unknowingly describing James Worthy. For an entire generation, he was the model of grace under fire. The man who proved that greatness doesn't shout, it performs. James Worthy was born on February 27, 1961, in Gastonia, North Carolina, a small town that produced one of basketball's most dependable stars. Long before the bright lights of Los Angeles, he learned discipline and humility under the roof of a working-class family. At the University of North Carolina, under Coach Dean Smith, Worthy became a symbol of efficiency and teamwork. He didn't seek attention. He sought perfection. In 1982, his final college game ended with a national championship and a clutch performance that foreshadowed everything he would become: smart, composed, and deadly when it mattered most. When the Lakers selected him first overall in the 1982 NBA draft, he walked into a dynasty already fueled by Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Instead of being overwhelmed, Worthy adapted instantly. His quick first step, fluid movement, and ability to finish in transition made him the final piece in the Showtime machine. He wasn't the loudest or the most flamboyant, but he understood rhythm, space, and timing better than almost anyone on the floor. Throughout the 80s, he became the ultimate playoff performer, the calm within the chaos. Coaches relied on him when pressure suffocated others. Fans trusted him to deliver in silence. And when the Lakers needed a bucket, Worthy answered without hesitation. That's why opponents, even those who tried to stop him, couldn't help but respect him. Worthy's legacy isn't just about championships or highlights. It's about composure, professionalism, and a quiet greatness that defined an era. He represented what basketball looked like when ego took a back seat to execution. And today, we count down the 5 players he respected the most. Number 6. Dominique Wilkins. Few rivalries from the 1980 seconds captured pure athletic respect like James Worthy versus Dominique Wilkins. They weren't enemies in the emotional sense. There was no trash talk, no cheap fouls, but every time they shared the floor, something primal came alive. It was strength against precision, fire against calm. Wilkins, the human highlight film, was Atlanta's unstoppable scoring machine, a man who seemed to live above the rim. Worthy, meanwhile, was all balance angles, footwork, and that famous glide that turned fast breaks into poetry. Their careers ran parallel. Both entered the league in the early 80s. Both were top-tier forwards in an NBA dominated by giants. And both understood that to stay relevant, you had to perform under pressure. Wilkins didn't just dunk, he attacked. Every possession felt like a challenge to his opponent's pride. Worthy admired that the fearlessness, the drive to dominate without theatrics. When Dominique came at you, he once said you had to be ready for a war of willpower. Their matchups were showcases of contrasts. The Hawks and Lakers didn't have a deep rivalry, but when the two met, especially in nationally televised games, it was a duel fans still remember. Worthy respected Wilkins' consistency. Even on losing teams, Dominique carried himself like a star. He never blamed teammates or coaches. He just went out and gave you 30 points and a memory. For Worthy, respect wasn't about rings, it was about reliability. Wilkins represented the unrelenting competitor who refused to fade, even in an era stacked with Hall of Famers. When they met at All-Star weekends, their greetings were genuine, two warriors acknowledging one another without needing words. Worthy once described Wilkins as the guy who never took a night off. Coming from Big Game James, that meant everything. Because to earn his respect, you didn't need flash, you needed fight. And Dominique Wilkins had plenty of it. That's the kind of greatness James Worthy always admired. Number 4. Larry Bird. Every era has that one rival who embodies everything you fear and admire at the same time. For James Worthy, that man was Larry Bird. When the Lakers and Celtics faced each other in the mid-'80s, it wasn't just about championships, it was about two philosophies colliding. Showtime's rhythm and flash against Boston's precision and grit. Worthy played the small forward opposite Bird, and every possession felt like chess played at the speed of war. Larry Bird was never the fastest or the most athletic, but he controlled the game like a grandmaster. He knew where everyone was before the play even unfolded. Worthy, who prided himself on intelligence and efficiency, recognized genius when he saw it. Larry wasn't just reading the court, he once recalled. He was writing the story while you were still learning the first line. Bird's confidence bordered on supernatural. He'd tell defenders exactly how he planned to score, then do it anyway. Most players took offense. Worthy took notes. That combination of arrogance and execution fascinated him. It wasn't showboating, it was a declaration of mastery. And when Bird hit those impossible fadeaways or no-look passes through traffic, Worthy could only nod in appreciation. The finals battles between the Lakers and Celtics were the ultimate test of composure. Bird never blinked, never complained, and never stopped believing Boston would find a way. Worthy, whose game was built on control and timing, respected that stoicism. Even in defeat, Bird carried himself with dignity. Even in victory, he never gloated. One of Worthy's favorite memories came after Game 7 of the 1987 Finals. As confetti fell, Bird walked over, shook his hand, and said simply, "You earned it." For a competitor like Worthy, that meant more than any trophy. Because when someone like Larry Bird gives you respect, you know you've done something right. That's the kind of greatness James Worthy always admired. Number tries. Julius Erving. Before James Worthy ever became Big Game James, there was another forward who showed him what elegance looked like in motion. Julius Erving, Dr. J. For a kid growing up in North Carolina watching Dr. J wasn't just seeing basketball, it was seeing art. The way he glided through the air, his body fully extended, seemed to rewrite what was possible for the human frame. By the time Worthy reached the NBA, Erving was already a legend, but the aura was still intact. Every player in the league, no matter how young or confident, felt it the moment they stood across from him. Worthy's respect for Dr. J began long before their first meeting. In interviews, he often said he modeled parts of his game after Erving, not the flair, but the control. He was never out of balance, Worthy once explained. Every move had purpose, every step had rhythm. For a player who built his reputation on efficiency, that kind of grace was everything. When the Lakers met the 76 ERS in the early 80s, it felt like a generational handoff. Dr. J was the established superstar. Worthy was the rising one. In those games, Worthy didn't try to outshine him, he tried to absorb him. He studied how Erving handled pressure, how he treated teammates, how he carried himself even in defeat. Dr. J never lost his dignity, Worthy recalled. He played the game, but he also elevated it. There was one play in particular, Erving's iconic baseline reverse layup in the 1983 Finals, that Worthy called the most graceful thing I've ever seen on a basketball court. It wasn't just athleticism. It was poetry, performed at full speed. Years later, Worthy said that moment taught him something vital. Greatness isn't only about domination. It's about beauty under control. Dr. J's influence went beyond the stat sheet. He was the first superstar to make professionalism look heroic, and that left a mark on Worthy's generation. For James Worthy, Julius Erving wasn't just a player he admired, he was the reason he learned how to play with purpose. That's the kind of greatness James Worthy always admired. Number 2. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Among all the legends James Worthy ever shared a locker room, with none commanded quiet respect like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. To the outside world, Kareem was the stoic giant, the man with the unstoppable skyhook and the intellect of a philosopher. To Worthy, he was the model of discipline. You didn't just play next to Kareem, Worthy once said. You observed him like a master at work. When Worthy joined the Lakers in 1982, Kareem was already approaching his mid-30s. Most veterans slow down at that point. Kareem seemed to move through time untouched. He showed up early, stretched alone, and went through a routine so precise it felt sacred. For a young forward learning what professionalism meant that left an imprint, Worthy realized that greatness wasn't about emotion, it was about repetition, refinement, and respect for the craft. On the court, Kareem demanded excellence without raising his voice. In practice, he expected players to think, not just react. He'd correct spacing, anticipate plays, and end every scrimmage by reminding teammates that intelligence wins championships. Worthy, whose game relied on timing and patience, flourished under that quiet mentorship. He never needed to tell me how to be calm, Worthy recalled. He showed me every night. Their chemistry grew over the years. Kareem's skyhook anchored the offense, but it was Worthy's slashing and finishing that turned set plays into Showtime. In clutch moments, they trusted each other without a word. Kareem's presence gave Worthy confidence. Worthy's energy gave Kareem rhythm. That balance became the soul of the Lakers dynasty. Off the floor, Kareem's curiosity impressed him even more. While others spent downtime chasing fame, Kareem read books, wrote essays, discussed history. To Worthy, that was another form of dominance, mastery of the mind. By the time Kareem retired in 1989, Worthy understood that leadership wasn't about noise or emotion. It was about example. Kareem embodied that completely, and for James Worthy, respect didn't come higher than that. That's the kind of greatness James Worthy always admired. Number 1. Magic Johnson. If there was one man who defined James Worthy's career both as a teammate and as a brother in battle, it was Erving Magic Johnson. Their connection was instinctive, the kind of chemistry that doesn't need words. Magic threw passes no one else could see, and Worthy was always there, running that perfect left lane, ready to finish what Magic began. It was more than teamwork. It was trust, made visible. When Worthy joined the Lakers as the number 1 pick in 1982, Magic had already conquered the league. Yet from day one, he treated the rookie not as a follower, but as an equal. He saw potential in Worthy that even Worthy hadn't recognized. Magic never told you to believe in yourself, Worthy once said. He just passed you the ball like you already did. That quiet confidence shaped his entire career. Magic's leadership wasn't just about assists or energy, it was about belief. He pulled teammates together in the chaos of the moment and made them believe that Showtime was destiny, not chance. Worthy respected that more than anything, the ability to command without intimidation. While Kareem gave him discipline, Magic gave him freedom. Their partnership reached its peak in the 1988 Finals, the same series that crowned Worthy with his big game title. On the morning of Game 7, Magic told him, "This one's yours, big game." It wasn't just encouragement. It was a transfer of trust. That night, Worthy delivered one of the greatest performances in Finals history, 36 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and Magic was the first to embrace him afterward. Off the court, their respect never faded. Magic's optimism, business acumen, and community leadership became a blueprint Worthy admired as much as his playmaking. To this day, when he speaks of Magic, his tone carries something deeper than nostalgia. It carries gratitude. Because for James Worthy, Magic Johnson wasn't only a teammate. He was proof that greatness shines brightest when shared. That's the kind of greatness James Worthy always admired. 5 names: Dominique Wilkins, Larry Bird, Julius Erving, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Magic Johnson. Each represented a different shade of greatness, and together they tell you everything about James Worthy. For him, basketball was never about ego or headlines. It was about respect for the game, for the moment, and for those who made it beautiful. Dominique showed him that effort never takes a night off. Bird reminded him that intelligence can break even the toughest defense. Dr. J taught him that style without substance means nothing. Kareem gave him discipline, the art of consistency. And Magic gave him trust, the belief that greatness thrives in connection. Worthy's list reveals the soul of a competitor who valued composure over chaos. He was part of an era where respect wasn't spoken, it was earned with sweat, silence, and execution. Every man he named forced him to grow, to sharpen his craft, and to stay humble no matter the outcome. In a league built on rivalries, Worthy's approach was different. He saw opponents as mirrors, reflecting his own limits. Today, when he sits on the Lakers broadcast desk, his voice still carries that calm conviction. He's not just talking about basketball, he's talking about life, about how respect lasts longer than trophies, and how legacy is built not by what you win, but by how you win. Because back then, basketball wasn't about highlights, it was about heart. Who would make your list?